Hello and welcome back to Sharks Happen. On today's show we will go over attacks on surfer, attack on a scuba diver or swimmer, attack on a boogie boarder, a couple other attacks, and then at the end of the show I'm just going to comment on a couple of the photos that I've been sent of these attacks down in Texas. I haven't looked into those yet, but I'm going to tell you what these photos look like. I mean, it's just atrocious. So stay tuned, it's going to be a good show. Okay, now we're going to start at the show. We're going to head over to Stewart's Beach. That is over in Florida. And the date on this attack is March 12th of 2019. Kael Dewey. He is 11 years old and he is out doing some boogie boarding. He's with his mother. I believe she's in the water with him. And he's only 15 feet from shore at 2 o'clock. And it can't be very deep. I mean, a few feet maybe. But 15 feet from shore, a few meters, 5 meters maybe. And he screams to his mom that he has been bitten by something bad, and then he lifts his leg up and he shows that his foot is bleeding. So she tells him, get out of the water. He gets out of the water, and medics at the beach went ahead and put a tourniquet on him really quick. They got him into the hospital. They went ahead and put 16 stitches into his foot. So Kael ends up going in and gets his foot stitched up. They didn't say anything about muscles or tendons, and this is too small of a shark for our stats, so we're not going to worry about it. It's not an attempt to predate, and it's over there in that Florida strip there, and it's usually black tips and spinners, and they say this one happened to be a 2 to 5 foot spinner shark. So I get to use my little spinner here. And that's the attack on Kael Dewey. Shark was probably, out there hunting its fish and saw this flash of his foot and went ahead and bit it. Didn't think it was a fish, not a mistaken identity, and an accident, because he's in the water where it's hunting. So that's how I would put it down if it was big enough for the stats, but it's not, so we will move on. Okay, now we're going to head over to the Abaco Islands, and that is over in the Bahamas. The date on this attack is June 21st of 2019. Jonathan Hernandez, he is a boat captain and an experienced diver, and he is spearfishing with friends. He's in the water. They don't say the depth of the water or even distance to shore or time of day, but he says he is hit. And he says it felt like he was ran over by a boat, and he was bitten in his calf, but the shark must have hit him in his body on the way up, because he says he turned and he was face to face with the shark. Shark's face is right in his face at that point. He says it was over in a second, but the power of the hit is the thing that he remembers. He says hit by a boat, and he turns to look and it's a shark. I mean, they didn't say the size or the species, and he's out spearfishing. Could be anything. You could be a blue shark blue shark, or even a mako that came up to you. You never know when you're out there spearfishing. How doesn't say where exactly at those islands he was. So that would go down as an attack, not an attempt to predate. We just don't know what size or the species of shark, but it's probably big enough for our stats, because he says he looked down and his calf was kind of hanging. So his friends, within a minute to a minute and a half, they said, put 2 tourniquets on there using their dive belts, tied that off, and they said that's one of the reasons that he ended up not having a problem and being able to keep his leg. But it had to be extensive surgery when you see that flap of flesh hanging there. So that's the attack on Jonathan Hernandez, and we'll move on. Okay, now we're going to head over to Point Lonsdale. That is over in Victoria, Australia, and the date on this attack is December 11th of 1954. Lawrence Burns, he was out and he was going to do a swim. There was a Victorian swim club type swim going on off of the point there, and some of the gentlemen, I guess a lot of people go there and watch it, because some gentlemen that were in the military over there, they were saying that they saw him go out into the water. It was sometime after 11 o'clock in the morning, and they watched him swim out about 100 yards, and then when he got to about 300 yards out, and it's still after 11 o'clock in the morning, but they don't know the exact time, they say he's 300 yards out in the water, and they see him thrashing around. So Lawrence is out there thrashing in the water in distress. He's a good swimmer. And then they see him start swimming back to shore. So he's thrashing in the water, he starts swimming back to them, and then he disappears under the water. 5 of his mates, 5 people that knew him that were part of an underwater like sea diving, I forget, they got a name, kind of like the sea urchins and slugs that they have over there. They have a name for this dive group, but they're all friends of Lawrence, and they went and they did a search for him, and they never were able to see his body. So they didn't recover his body. Most likely the cause is a shark, and that's how we're going to put it down. So we're going to put Lawrence David Burns as an attack, a predation. We just don't know what size or what type of shark, but I'm definitely going to put this down as a shark attack, and we will move on. Okay, now we're going to head over to Broken Head, that is near Taylor's Lake in New South Wales, Australia. The date on this attack is December 2nd of 2011. Milton Kael, he is 63 years old, and he and his son they're in a river mouth, and they're going out to do some surfing. So at 6 o'clock in the morning, Milton is out with this board 40 to 50 meters, so about 50, 60 yards from shore. They don't say the depth of water, and he's just got done cleaning some wax off the underside of his board, and as he just hops onto his board, a shark comes up and rams the board with huge force. He said it felt like an accident, a car accident or something. Then came up and hit his board. It didn't get him, and he gets knocked off the board, gets back on it, and gets to shore. He's fine. He's not hit by the shark as far as the teeth, but the actual impact tore a shoulder ligament. He's hanging onto his board as he climbed up on there. Well, whatever it did, it tore his ligament in his shoulder, and that's an injury from a shark that doesn't come from its teeth, just from that impact of the shark to the board. So another attack on a surfer. They think this was a bull shark. Like I say, it's in a river mouth there. When you look at the little map of it, you can see that it's in a bunch of a lakey looking area, and it's probably brackish water, and probably a bull shark, and probably a pretty nice sized one, moving fast to hit them. I mean, they can move 20 miles an hour, and you get hit by that, and it's like a car accident. You don't have anything. You're out there in a bathing suit or in a wetsuit. Either way, you don't have any cushion. You have a board there, and it's going to hit you. I'm wondering how many other bruises and things are caused when the shark doesn't hit the guy, but the board kind of gets smashed. So they hit it with a lot of force in most cases. That's our attack on Milton Kael, and we will move on. Okay, we're going to head over to West Holden Beach, which is in North Carolina, and the date on this attack is July 16th of 2000. Tim Poynter, 14 years old, he is out with his family on vacation. He goes out and he's doing some surfing. He gets out into the water, and this is in the evening. They don't say the time or how far from shore he is, but he gets bumped. A shark bumps his board, and he says he starts paddling furiously for shore. And as he's paddling for shore, he looks back, and he can see the shark coming at him, mouth open. So the shark is swimming at his feet as he's paddling as fast as he can. He looks back, and he can see the open mouth of the shark coming at his foot. It ends up biting him in the foot, and he has to go in and get some lacerations sewn up. Witnesses saw the shark go after him, and they said that it was a 6-foot shark, and they said that his dorsal fin was about a foot tall. So it was gray in color on top, and I'm thinking bull shark all the way, 5-6 foot bull shark. Seems to have the strong looking dorsal that these guys do, and it seems taller than it should be for their size at that time. So I'm thinking that's probably a bull shark that got a hold of him. I'm not going to put that down as the bull shark. I'm just saying that that's what I think it is. So this is large enough for our attack. It's going to go down as an attack, not an attempt to predate. 6-foot shark that bumped him first and then chased him down and bit him in the foot. So that's how it's going to go down. 6-foot shark, not an attempt to predate. Okay, we're going to finish off our attacks. We're going to head over to South Africa. We're going to go to Struis Bay, and that's in Western Cape Province, South Africa. The date on this attack is February 19th of 2000. Dr. Welch, he is out and he is doing some body surfing. There's about 20 people with him. He's with a group of people and he's out there doing some body surfing, but the Struis Bay is known for its abundance of white sharks. And he's doing his body surfing and he gets into the shallows at about 2 o'clock. He's in shallow water. He's walking his way to shore and he's bitten in the leg by a shark. They end up taking him in. He ends up having his wounds sutured up. It doesn't sound like it shook. It sounds like it just bit and released. And they said that they estimate this was a 2.8 meter great white shark. So you're talking a 8.5 foot great white shark gets into shallow water as he's walking to shore after he's done with his day. And it reminds me of that little kid, you know, I think that was his second day on vacation. They were going to be there a week, and now the rest of the week they're going to be spending dealing with his injury because of a shark in the water. So we will discuss a couple of other, it seems, maybe quick attacks down there in Texas, but I wanted to go over Dr. Welch. This was just a crazy one to have, you know, another great white in shallow water biting somebody, and this one, you know, went after him when he was just leaving the beach. So not an attempt to predate. 8.5 foot great white shark ends up biting Dr. Welch, and that's how we'll put that down, and we'll get to the end of the show next. Okay, getting to the end of the show, I wanted to discuss the O-Search app. They have a ton of turtles that are tagged. Like I said, almost as many turtles are pinging off the east coast of the United States than they have sharks. Great, you know, the great white sharks that they tag mostly. There's a hammerhead out there, but it's mostly great white sharks. There was a bull catya over there, maybe a couple other bulls over in Australia, but there's nothing pinging on Australia. So it seems they bailed on Australia. They're switching over from great whites, it seems, to turtles. Now, what I don't understand is why you wouldn't use some technology like that, especially with pinging sharks. Go over to the west coast of the United States, find the sharks that are in the surf and attach them to those and see how much they're coming back and forth to shore. I would want to know how often are these sharks the same sharks that are returning to the shallows? Are they not? And you know, these pinging electronic tags that everybody can see, that'd be a great way to do that. If I was to continue, if I was O-Search, I would look for inshore sharks that are real close to shore where people normally are, and those are the ones I would tag to be able to find out if they are returning to the same spot or not. I think that'd be kind of important. Now, we had these attacks down in Texas. Bob S. sent me an update on an attack. Ali sent me an update on an attack. My father even showed me a photo that he had received from a friend of his in Texas. Buddy his Russell's runs a fishing boat out there. Big boat that you get 80 people on to fish at the same time. Party boat, I guess they call it. And I saw these photos. I didn't look into these attacks. I did see really early they said, oh, the same shark attacked these people. At least that's how they made it sound like, that 4 people were attacked by the same shark. That I wouldn't buy, but maybe the same pack of sharks if they're at the same beach maybe. But I don't know. I haven't looked into them, but I have seen a couple photos, and they have to be two of the different attacks, and they're over the ones in Texas, and both on a leg. The one guy's leg, it was lifted up in the air, and they had a tourniquet above and below, like the middle of the calf. So the calf is gone, and they have a tourniquet above it and below it to staunch the bleeding on both sides of it. And it was a bad bite, worse than Eric Ritter got on his calf when he was standing around talking about how docile those bulls were until that 8-footer or so came up and bit him in the calf and took part of his calf with them. This was a big one. And then there was the other leg, and the other leg was just atrocious. It was, above the knee, you could see teeth marks. It's like there's a teeth mark and a little slash above the knee. And then you go down the knee, all the way down to the leg, and almost 3/4 of the meat and flesh is gone all the way around, stripped to the bone. I don't know that could be a single bite. I mean, if it is a huge shark, and it's in Texas, I need to get the story on that. But these two photos were, you know, the one I've seen photos like that, but this guy's leg, I've never seen something torn up like that. It was worse than Lyudmila Stolarova, and she had a really bad attack on her leg. Just the way that the flesh is gone, it makes me wonder how that attack even took place. I don't know what the people were doing. I just wanted to go over that, and you know, that's the problem with these attacks, is if you are the one attacked, it could be really bad. And you know, the one is definitely really bad. And when you lose a calf, I think that that's bad too. So the only way to protect yourself and make sure you do not have that happen is to not go into the water. That's the only way. You can go into shallow water, and we just covered the attack in this show where the guy was walking out of the water in the shallow. So when I hear in the shallows, I think about 3 feet of water. What are you doing? So yeah, when, you know, we just had the one where the person was walking out of the water in the shallows, and when I hear shallows, I think 3 feet of water, and he was bitten by an 8-foot great white shark. I mean, that's a pretty big shark for, you know, shallow water. And again, you know, you stay out of the water, that doesn't happen. Unless you're Sean Carpenter, and that's the little boy, 7-year-old boy, I think it was walking along the beach, just splashing his feet in the surf as it came up, and she noticed out of the corner of her eye something dark, and she lifted him up, and a shark went right underneath him. That would be, you know, attacked when you're on land. That would be a dry attack, in my opinion. So staying out of the water is the best way to avoid those sharks. Now, I was sent, I think it was Bob S. that sent me this, and it's the craziest thing I've ever seen. A guy is wrangling a shark, and it looks like it's a pretty big shark. I mean, it's definitely a bull sandbar. It looked bluish though, and I would think bull with the kind of color it is. But it looked like one of those sharks as far as the tail fin. It has that notch in the long upper lobe, and I'm assuming the lower lobe, but it's not a tiger. They have that same kind of notch and lobe. So I'm thinking it's, you know, like a bull sandbar. You know, it didn't look like a whaler. So this guy grabs it by the tail as it's all the way up in the shore, and the shark is about 5 feet from shore and maybe 1.5 foot deep water, and it's kind of thrashing its head around. So he grabs it by the tail and he drags it out. And Bob has sent me Salty Cracker, and it's a funny clip to me because he makes a lot of points about idiocy in the world with this attack. But the guy takes it out, and it looks like he spun it around, and he kind of had it around the waist type thing, and then he disappears under the shark. I don't know if it was slow-mo. I didn't see the guy resurface. The clip headline was guy was eaten by shark, that he was, you know, helping out or whatever. I don't know that that's the case, that he was eaten. I don't even know if he was bitten, but he was definitely down under the water with the shark that he had just helped out. So what were you thinking there? And you know, I'll look into that and see if I can find out exactly what ended up happening there. I would assume that the shark just went on its way, but you have many of these cases where the shark gets angry, you know, whether it's stuck in a net or where you're messing with it. The one guy slapped the shark on the tail. It turned and took his leg. That was, I think, a tiger shark. So you got to leave these sharks alone. And it's nice to help them out. You know, I've seen people helping them out into the water. I have seen a single individual do it before, kind of carrying it type thing, a smaller shark. I would say that if you're going to help a shark, get some people to help you. Don't do it by yourself, because you could get hurt. So I wanted to talk about that. I wanted to mention those pictures of the Texas attacks, and 4 of them. Yeah, you know, you're in the water. It's 4th of July weekend. That's when the most people are in the water, I would think. So it doesn't surprise me that there was attacks. It surprises me that there was 4 of them together like that. But that happened over in Long Island with, what, 5 attacks, 6 attacks in a week. So, and we just had 4 over in Florida the same. And like I said, we go through these in our show, and that's a good thing about bouncing around is we see that this happens to where there's a spate of attacks at Second Beach, let's say, and then you go months and years without attacks again. Same thing over in the Red Sea, where they have all those attacks with the oceanic whitetips, and you just have a rash of them. I think it was in 2010, and then they're kind of sporadic after that. So the more people in the water, the more chance there's going to be shark attacks, and that's when the most shark attacks are going to happen. I don't think that they're out of line as far as the number of attacks. It's just middle of the summer here, and when we get to February over in Australia, they're going to start having those attacks on the days that the most people are in the water. It's just the way that goes. And I did want to mention one other thing. I don't know where this attack was. I believe Ali sent me this, but there was a gentleman spearfishing, and he was bitten. I don't know what kind of shark. He was bitten by it though, and they said that there was a whale out in the water. There was a whale out in the harbor, a dead whale floating, and they warned the beachgoers and people not to go in the water. And I'm just wondering, there's got to be a system where there's one place you can check real quick and see what's been reported. I know there's a bunch of different kind of sites like that, but it's kind of like with, you know, I do shore fishing here, and if you go ahead and you use Google and you Google places to fish from the shore in Michigan, you're not going to find anything. You're going to find a bunch of stuff that you're not looking for. And that happens with everything when you're looking for things. Your overload of information means that it's hard to find anything reliable, especially. So, you know, I don't know. Maybe they got to figure something out to where there's one place you could look on the internet from, you know, researchers and see where these sharks have been seen, so that you're aware, because maybe the beachgoers knew, and I doubt all of them knew, and who knows if the spear fisherman knew that there was a whale out in the harbor. It reminds me of that spear fisherman was bitten when he was in the water, when others had seen all those carcasses from seals in the water where he was spear fishing. Well, he probably didn't know they were there, but others knew they were there. So it's a matter of getting the information to the people, which is harder and harder nowadays. Seems, you know, Google's not out to do so. They do the reverse in a lot of cases. It depends on if they agree with what they hear or not. Always remember, if you go into that water, you are much more afraid of these sharks than they are of you.